Right, so welcome back to a new one on this channel, and on this occasion is the Decapitator from Soundtoys. This is not a review, it's a deep dive about this plugin. Now everything on this guide is in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. If you like this guide, like and subscribe, and if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Everything is on the description. Right, so we need to start on the styles, and there's a reason why we start right here. So this is the most important section of the plugin. Now, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to start doing this job by adding some saturation and shaping the sound. So I'm going to show you a spectrum, and you can see what it's doing behind the scenes. If I turn it off, it goes flat, and as soon as I turn it on, we get some shaping. And of course, if we check, how it's doing in terms of harmonics, it's just doing that. I'm going to try to keep the guide, the deep dive, this video very visual, so everyone can see it and understand what we are doing. Even if you don't do any drive right here, you can see that it's working behind the scenes, and it's because the different styles are emulations of different hardware units. Okay, so let's do some drumming. I'm going to use Superior Drummer. I'm not doing anything, I'm just loading a patch, and this is how it sounds. First, I'm going to turn it off, and again, I'm going to play it. Right, so some very simple drums. Right now, it's bypassed. As soon as I turn it on, this is going to start reacting on the sound, and we can hear that it's just changing it. So the A is an emulation of the Ampex 350 tape, and of course the preamp. And it's a little bit flat, it's the flattest of them all, and it's smooth. Now the other ones are just, have a different attitude, let's say. Right, so of course you have your mix control. So if you don't like what it's doing, you can dial this back and just, have a little bit, and not all of the, the whole wet signal. Right. But this is what it's doing behind the scenes. As you turn it on, no drive, it's gonna process the sound and try and go through this, emulation. Right, now let's check the other one. I'm gonna go to the E. Right, so as soon as I change it, we can see and we can hear that it's doing something. So this is an emulation of the Chandler channel. Notice we get a little bit more low end, we get a punch right here, a tiny dip right here, but then it sounds brighter than the other one. If I go to the A, you're going to notice that it's just a little bit brighter. Right, so we can really hear it's doing something, and it's the air that we have right here at the top. Right, so the next one, the N, is going to be Neve 1057. It's just a famous vintage gear, just the Neve. Now, I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to shut up. Right, so it's comparing with the previous ones, it's really different. Now, this one is less bright. We have a tight low right here, and we have more mids. If I go to the previous ones, really different, right? Right, now the T and the P are emulations of the Coulter Volter. And the thing is that they are the same, this emulation of the same hardware unit, but on different configuration. This one is just going to be emulating the triad mode on that unit, and this one is going to be the pentode. And there's a little bit of difference. Now the triad leans more to the even order harmonics, and the pentode, it goes the other way, the uneven, the odd harmonics. Now I'm gonna stand right here. I'm gonna play the drums. I'm gonna compare it with the Neve because it's really smooth. Right? Super different. Right, so let's go to the pentode. Now this one is a bit more aggressive than the triad. Alright? I'm gonna bypass. If I go to Neve, it's way different. Right. Now, if you think about this, when you throw the plugin on a channel, you just don't need to drive it. Maybe you go through the different styles and maybe you get what you wanted. You don't need to go all the way drive. And I'm telling you this because I've seen a lot of people throwing the plugin and then instantly doing something like that, you know. Maybe you don't need it. Just go through the different styles. And if you like it, you keep it. If not, maybe you just go to the drive. Right, so we need to talk about the drive and the punish. So the drive control, what it does is going to add more input to the saturation stage of whatever emulation that you're using. So again, you're just adding more input. So if you add more input, it will saturate more. And of course, the saturation depends on the different styles. As soon as I play it, and I'm going to be playing a different pattern. All right, I'm going to stand on the A, and I'm going to drive it. Gotta go up. Alright. If you go all the way up, it's gonna get really aggressive. And all the different I'm gonna stay right here. All the different styles will just sound a little bit different now. Because, you know, you're just driving more. Now it's even more noticeable, right? The styles. Right. So that's it. What you're doing, you're just driving the input, so it's gonna saturate more. Now, that's why you have the punish. Maybe you have something, you know, whatever you're trying to drive or process is very, very quiet. So the punish, what it does really is just adds an extra 20 dBs of gain. So you're not doing anything special. You're just adding more input. Now, if you're all the way down to 0, you're not really on 0. You're just going 20 dBs up. And then you can drive more if you wanted to. Now, that's the only thing that the drive and the punish will do. So as soon as I go up in drive, and I'm going to be playing it again, you know, I go up, depends on the mode. Notice that we get this bump, and then we get the other bump right there. And this is, again, very reactive to the sound that you feed in. Now, what we see right here is just a representation. Just a representation. It's not the, you know, the real representation of the drums that we are hearing right now. It's just a representation of what it's doing. Now, if I drive, of course, we have a bump right there. So that's why we have the low cut and the thump, and you know the tone as well. But first, we're going to talk about this. So the low cut will react way before before the signal gets saturated. So we are just going to be cutting low frequencies. And since we have the kick and everything else, and when we go up, it's just a little bit messy because we have a lot of low frequencies because of the kick and everything else. Mostly because of the kick and the snare. So the low cut will start, you know, just cutting low frequencies. Oh, there we go. That is it. It saturates in a different way now. I'm cutting, you know, a lot. Maybe I can do just a tiny little bit. And then just dial in whatever we want. And just find the perfect combination of cutting and driving. Now, then, if I go maybe to... I'm gonna stay right here. So if I go to thump, the thump, what it's gonna be is just a peak at the breakpoint, right here on the cutoff, on this cutoff. If I go all the way down, it's gonna be a little bit more, you know, visual or easy to see. Now when I do thump, it's going to boost right here at the breakpoint, right at the breakpoint. Right, so, you know, that's it. It's just a bump. So when you move it, you can sweep and we can hear the sweep. This will, of course, affect the sound. Right. Now, what you need to remember is that the low cut and the thump, this is something that happens before going through the saturation stage. So I'm gonna go all the way down in drive. Then you have the tone, and the tone, it's like the low cut is going to affect the sound before going into the saturation stage. Now the tone is a tilt EQ. Now, if you don't know how to tilt EQ, it means that if you go to the dark side, you're going to get more lows, less highs. And if you go to the bright, you're going to get more highs and less low. That's why it's a tilt. You do more of, the highs, you get less of the other one, and so on and so on. So right at center, you're just, not doing anything. Going to be doing some playing. Going to drive it. If you go to the dark, you're going to be feeding more lows, less highs. You can go all the way. If I go to the bright, we just do the opposite. You can drive it as hell. You can even use this, as a way of balancing your sound. If I go right here, you get a boomy sound, brighter sound. Pretty understandable. Alright, again, remember the tone, it's pre-saturation just like the low cut. Okay, so then we have a cut on the highs. Now this one will act after the saturation, right? After everything gets saturated, it will just chop the high frequencies. It's not like the low cut or the tone. It will just chop the frequencies. Now, as if I go all the way down in drive and then I start cutting, we can see what it's doing. It's just chopping the high frequencies. Pretty understandable. Now, this is a 6 dB per octave, so it's not super aggressive. Let me just play something. I'm gonna be playing something else. Why not? And I'm gonna go up. Right? So maybe if it's just too bright, you can chop a little bit of whatever it is that we are doing. And, just adjust, make your adjustments. Now, if I just cut a lot, it's just gonna cut a lot, right? You get the point. I'm gonna go all the way down and drive. So then you have this steep. Now, by default, this one is a 6 dB per octave, but if you go steep, it's gonna be a 30 dB per octave, so it's gonna be really aggressive, right? And you can just hear the difference right there. Right, so that's it, that's high cut. Now remember that this one goes after the saturation. You're not chopping before it gets saturated. Right, so that's it. It's a very simple plugin, but you need to be aware of all the different styles and, what they do, because whatever you do right here at the top will be reactive to the styles right here at the bottom. Now, there's one more thing I didn't tell you, is that if you go up in drive, this is going to auto gain. So if you go up, of course, the volume goes up, but you can just go down on the output, but notice that the auto is on. As soon as you move the drive, it's going to adjust the output right here. And I'm going to, move the output. It seems like we are changing it manually, but we have the auto on, so we can just, move the drive and it's going to go back to the same point. Now, if it's still, and this is, something very common, if you go up in drive and this is still too loud, if you don't plan to move the drive, you can still, go down on the output and adjust it yourself. But as soon as you move the drive, it's going to go up, right? Now, you can disable the auto and then you just can do it manually. Right. Alright, so that's it. So hopefully you learned something on this one. It's a very simple plugin to learn, to use, but you need to be aware of some of the parts. So if you liked all of this, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks, you can go to the links in the description. You have links for PayPal. You have links for, you can do the YouTube thanks if you want. You have a Patreon. Maybe you can be a 1-month patron and just buy me a coffee that way. Alright, so that's it. So see you on the next one.